They had no reason to be afraid. Jesus walking on water should have been nothing to them. It should have been nothing to them because he just performed a miracle in the verses before where he fed thousands of people with just a loaf of bread and a fish. So after I saw that, if I was a disciple, I would not be surprised if I saw Jesus walking on water. So they had no reason to be afraid. They were only expecting the ordinary from God. But God is not ordinary. God isn't ordinary. Never expect the ordinary from God. He's tired. We need to give him, the church tries to give him limits, and they try to give him boundaries. But there should be no limits and no boundaries with God, because he's not an ordinary God. And I believe God is so tired of the box that people try to put him in. He wants us to break through the norm. He wants us to get out of the ordinary so we can show the world that God is real. How are we supposed to show the world that if we expect him to be ordinary and get so terrified when he performs a miracle? Okay. Verse 27, but Jesus spoke to them at once. It's all right, he said. I am here. Don't be afraid. Even after the Lord said it was him, Peter still wanted proof. He wanted to do what the Lord could do. Many of you want to do what he does, and you can. He wants to use you, but do you have the faith? You can do it. He knows you can do it, but you have to have the faith. It's up to you now. Then Peter called to him, Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you by walking on water. And Jesus just said, all right, come. Okay, walk on the water. You can do it. But it's all about his faith. Now watch this. So Peter went over... So Peter went over the side of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. But when he looked around at the high waves, he was terrified and began to sink. When his eyes were on Jesus, his concentration was on Jesus, his spirit was on Jesus. They were walking with one heartbeat. He was walking on water, and God was using him. But the minute he looked around and he looked at the situation and his eyes got in the natural, he started sinking. The minute he started concentrating not on God and only on the bad stuff, and his concentration wasn't lying with God, he started sinking. Where's your concentration? Who are you concentrating on? The only thing that stopped him was his doubt. So he's terrified and he's sinking. He says, "Save me, Lord," he shouted. Instantly, Jesus reached out his hand and grabbed him. Instantly. He didn't wait. He instantly reached out and grabbed him. Just because you sink doesn't mean God can't reach out and pull you back up again so you can keep walking. And Jesus says, he's still calm. Jesus never panicked. He's still calm. He's looking at you panicking. Why are you panicking? You were just walking on water. Why are you panicking? There is no reason to panic here. And so Jesus says to him, you don't have much faith. Why did you doubt me? God's saying that to a lot of people today. Why are you doubting me? Haven't you seen over the past 2 weeks what I could do? Why are you doubting me? Why are you doubting my power? Haven't you read all throughout this Bible about me raising the dead and healing blind eyes, opening deaf ears, feeding thousands of people with a loaf of bread and a fish? Why are you doubting me? Do not doubt if you want to be used. How would I prophesy to you or speak into a person's life if I'm doubting everything I'm saying? I can't speak into your life if I'm doubting it. If I pulled someone up to prophesy, or if I pulled someone up so God can speak into their life, and they knew someone that was dying for cancer, and I was from cancer, and I was telling them, God's going to heal your child. He's not going to die. He's going to live and not die. And I'm saying all this stuff, and I'm doubting it on the inside. How would that work? That doesn't work. You can't doubt if you want to be used. It's just hypocrisy. If someone stood up here and preached to you guys and doubted everything they were saying, if I was speaking this to you guys and looking at you guys and saying, God can't use them. And then out of my mouth, I'm like, no, you're going to be used. Yeah, sure. No, you can't do that. You can't doubt. And there's in another story, the disciples seem to be getting into storms a lot. They went through a lot. In another story, God said, peace be still to them before he said, peace be still to the storm. Because they're out there panicking, and he can't work with two storms at once. Oh, he can, but he's not trying to heal you and heal the storm in front of you. You must be at peace. You must be concentrated on him, because if you have a storm inside of you and outside of you, you have double the storm. You would be blind to what God was doing in the midst of the storm because you're not concentrated. You're too busy panicking and freaking out when God's just like, walk on the water. And it says in verse 3, later in verse 3, verse 32, and when they climbed back into the boat, the wind stopped. Everything ceased because God handled them, and then God handled the storm. But if Peter maybe would have been concentrating a little better, God might have handled the storm a little faster because he wouldn't have had to deal with Peter first. So you really can speed up the process here. You can really speed up the process here. By just taking the step and concentrating on God and walking, everything might come together just a little bit faster if he doesn't have to deal with you panicking first. Because I think God might be getting a little bit tired of looking at you panicking like, here we go again. Did I not just perform a miracle for you last week and you're still doubting? What more do I have to do? You need to walk on water, but when you do, keep walking. Don't doubt. Don't lose faith. You are called to do amazing things, but you need your faith. Faith is the core to everything God works off of. It's the core. And how is he supposed to work with you and use you if you're panicking and you don't have faith? He's looking for a group of people who are strong enough to say, I know my God can do this, no matter how big it is. And there's no storm inside of me to hinder him because I already know. That's what God's looking for. And when the storm comes, because we all have to go through things. Everyone knows walking with God isn't just a walk in the park. We all have to go through things. But when you do, maybe you can speed it up a little bit by concentrating on God. Speed up the process. Don't give God double the storm when it's unnecessary. And when things try to tempt you and they try to pressure you, youth, when people try to tempt and pressure you, concentrate on God. Keep walking. Don't make detours. Just keep walking. We are the generation of faith, and we will step on water, and we will not doubt. That's what God wants. He wants a generation of faith. How many of you are ready to be faithful? How many of you are ready to concentrate on God and just walk on the water? How many of you are ready to run on the water? Because we already know we can walk on it. Let's run. Let's make this thing go a little bit faster. I'm walking on water. I'm not going to sink. Who's coming with me? You want to come with me? Let's go. Let's have the faith. Let's go. Let's get this revival started. But the revival needs to start with faith. We can't start a revival and change a nation without faith. Where would we be? And there are times when people are going to feel that their faith is dwindling, but it's not going to be lost. Faith is never lost. It's always in you. You have to bring it out. You have to be concentrated. In the midst of the storm, God is there. God is on the water waiting. He's waiting. He's like, okay, guys, come on, just step out. Stop focusing on it. Don't look at the storm, look at me. Don't look at the storm, look at me. And when I was reading this, God kind of showed me if you're teaching your kid to walk, and it's a little boy and then there's God, and then he's looking into his eyes. When you teach your kid to walk, they're looking at you. They're looking right at you and they're stumbling a little bit, but they get there.